I'm gonna be making a simulator in 1 week. It's gonna be a clicker simulator, even though there's already thousands. The first thing I did was make a game. Then I opened up this plugin that I've already used in a video. If you guys want to check out, you can click in the top right. I ended up choosing 100 because
I like money.
After clicking the generate button, I ended up getting this gem, so I ended up doing it again and got this click icon. After staring at the map for a while, I ended up remodeling the eggs and the stands that they were on. After adding the stand into Roblox, it wouldn't scale down for some reason, so I had to end up going back to Blender and make a whole new model for the stand. After importing the second one, it did the exact same thing, so I ended up going to bed. I woke up the next morning feeling well rested, and I ended up finding out how to make it shrink. I ended up coloring in the stands and color coding them according to the egg on top of them. After that, I had to make sure all the eggs actually work in the game, and they actually do. I imported this border piece and colored it from my old project just because I thought it would work perfectly for this game. I imported this rig so I could build my actual map to scale. Here I made a green part so I could actually scale the map to what I wanted it. After a little bit of thought of how I wanted the map to be laid out, I started putting these border pieces around, just scaling and moving them to see how they look. After a couple minutes of that, I copied and pasted what I had and moved it to the other side to make it look like a circle. After connecting the pieces, this is what we have. It looks pretty nice. After admiring my beautiful map for a couple minutes, I decided to actually do some pass towards the leaderboard so the people could actually get there. I thought the leaderboards kind of looked goofy on the ground, so I decided to make a raised platform for them to sit on top of. After that, I wanted to make a platform for the eggs that sit on so they're not just on the ground. While doing this, I thought these LED kind of strips looked pretty cool towards the eggs to draw more attention to them. Before I was done with day 2, I wanted to jump into the game and admire how good this map is and how proud I am of this map. The first thing I did on day 3 was change this brown to the brown of the path because it kind of looked a little too dark. A big tip to your new developers out there: copying and pasting the border pieces and scaling them up and moving them to scale makes the map look more full. After doing all that, I decided to start messing with the lighting and the sky, but later I ended up changing this because it kind of looks pretty dookie. I ended up adding this rock from one of my older projects again because I thought it would fit the scene perfectly. My footage crashed here, but I made the path on the left side going to the leaderboard so there's more than one way. And I also added these textures to the ground and to parts of the map just to make it look more different. Going into the game and testing, I ended up getting this. I tried figuring it out for a couple hours and I couldn't do it, so that was all I had for day 3. Starting off day 4, I made a GUI month. After messing with the GUI, I kind of looked at the middle of the map and it looked pretty empty, so I ended up making this little lake thing just so it was less empty and there was more things on the map. After messing with the lake for a while, I ended up getting this. Then I ended up bringing over these fences so I could place them all around the map. I ended up moving the trees over from the generated map and ended up using the brush tool so I could just place them around the map randomly. After filling up the map, I changed the leaf color to some of the trees so that they all didn't look the same color. After I did that, I ended up doing the same thing but for the tree trunks so they all didn't look the same color. The last thing I did with the trees was move some to the outside and scale them up so when you're in the game it looks like you're in a forest. After that, I imported my own pets.
Stop the cap.
After doing all that hard work, I chose the ones I liked and put them in the eggs so they could be used in game. After doing most of those, I ended up going into the game and I spent hours, I mean hours, trying to figure this out. And here I open up and I see I have full pet storage, and I was wondering why the eggs would not open. The first thing I did on day 5 was make this beautiful animation when you equipped your pets. After messing around with the settings for a couple minutes, this is the animation we got for the pets, a lot better than what we had with them jumping up and down. The next thing I did was to continue adding pets into the eggs because they weren't quite full yet. The thing that I thought was missing from the game was sound effects, so I ended up adding these. One thing that I like to do for my games is to add a custom leader stats in the top right. It just makes the game look a lot more professional. I once again used the brush tool to help fill in the map, putting grass and rocks all over the place. I realized I didn't put a texture on the path earlier, so I ended up finding this one that looked pretty nice. I added this 3D text saying leaderboard so the players knew where they were and attracted more players. The last thing I did for day 5 was change the GUI by adding this gradient to make it look more realistic. The first thing I did on day 6 was revamp the icons for clicking and rebirths, and they turned out pretty nice. Then I ended up revamping the whole GUI because I didn't like all of it. After messing with the GUI, I ended up making a new model for the leaderboards because they kind of looked funky. The last thing I did on day 6 was change the material of the leaderboard and the paths. The reason this day was so short is because your boy had a quiz the next day. I know the only thing you guys are wondering is my test results, so let's get into that. When I got home, I rushed to my PC and I got a perfect score. After that shenanigan, I made a Robux egg so I could make Robux for people who wanted better eggs. One of the last things I did in Studios was actually add the rest of the pets and make sure that the game was balanced so it wasn't really easy to beat or hard to beat at all. One of the things I forgot to do earlier was to make Game Pass icons, so I made this circle and just added icons to it to make it its corresponding Game Pass. After making all the icons, I ended up making the passes and copying and pasting their IDs so I would actually get the Robux when people bought the Game Passes. The last thing that I thought was missing was a good game icon, which I just made in Photopea, which is basically a free version of Photoshop. Now the final thing I need to do is to just publish the game. And if you guys think this game would be fun, I will post a link in the description and you can go check it out. If you guys enjoyed this video, you can check out this video where I made a game in 1 hour. And if you guys really enjoy my channel, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.